curriculum. Just when you thought it was safe, curriculum changed. PCP has gone and got a court case. It's proof for the deniers, revealing all the liars. UNESCO co-conspirers, stealing away your rights as a parent, a guardian. Remove your right to disagree. Chosen from the age of 3, exposing kids to CSE. Change the name to RSE, it's mirrored inequality. Legally made it mandatory, dictated by the GOV.
Lovely Sunday afternoon. It's actually nice here in Wales for a change. So just a quick introduction to those who don't know me. I'm Kim. I am Chair of Public Child Protection Wales. And Public Child Protection Wales does exactly what it says on the tin. We are the public protecting the children in Wales. So we're in the infancy of forming the organisation. We are 3 years old, and we have been challenging the RSE, Relationship and Sexuality Education. It's called SRE, PSHE, RSHP, different things around the UK. But we have successfully secured a judicial review this time last year, and we have proven that all 4 countries in the UK have actually adopted a system called CSE, Comprehensive Sexuality Education. So for those who have been following us from the beginning, you will be very aware of this. And those who are just joining, there is some things you need to catch up on. And you can find all that information on our website, www.publicchildprotectionwales.org. So this afternoon, guys, I'm delighted to say I'm joined here. My dog is starting already. I'm joined here with Aaron and Geoff. Now, a lot of you will know who Aaron and Geoff is because you've sent us their video. So just for a little bit of background information, Aaron and Geoff had the opportunity to sit in a full council meeting in West Suffolk Council. When was that, guys? It was over a week ago now, wasn't it?
That was the 26th, I think, 26th. 26th, yeah. Of September, yeah. Yeah, right, September, yeah. On a Tuesday, yeah.
So Aaron and Geoff attended a full council meeting, and as far as I know, Geoff didn't get the chance to speak. The council cleared the room. I did share the video yesterday, but in your own words, starting with Aaron, would you like to explain to us about that council meeting first, Aaron?
Yeah, of course, Kimberly. We set this up about a year ago. The guys in Thetford, Geoff also himself, started against the council, against the certain agendas they were pushing. And the main one for us was always about the children, you know, the way they were being sexualised at school. So we brought this into the meeting about a year ago. We followed it on, and we had a private meeting with the head of council and his pal, whoever his name is. What's his name again, Geoff? Sorry.
Oh, I can never remember
Ian
the
Gillan,
name.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, yeah.
And they had a private meeting with him. We brought up about the sexualisation of children. Geoff also brought up about John Money and files as well. You know, he had plenty of files to give them to research. And I also brought up the subject about my son being sexualised at school. He come home, he told me that he'd been taught about masturbation at school. He was given a book with sexual positions that were drawn out, and they were told where the children could touch themselves to be aroused. Now, I brought that to the head of council. They were quite adamant that they were happy for this type of topic to be taught to 4-year-olds and up, and they thought there was nothing wrong with it. So we brought it up into that meeting, like you say, the one that was broadcasted everywhere, and I thought it was the best time to show that we were unhappy and agitated by the fact that he was sitting there within the meeting with 72 members that didn't know that we had that private meeting. Now, as soon as I mentioned him talking about masturbation, his face dropped, the whole council went silent, and I think it needed to be registered because there was a lot of parents in there and grandparents, and they're also very concerned about the sexualisation of our children. And I was a bit agitated the fact that obviously Geoff wasn't given the opportunity to speak on the day because he was going to bring that same subject up. It was only because I went in with an email and said I was going to speak about something else that they gave me the opportunity. Obviously, I brought the sexualisation of children in, and they weren't expecting it. They were telling us that we shouldn't go over subjects that we've already brought up in 6 months, and I weren't going to have it. It was always about the children, and they need to be listening to us, the people. Obviously, Geoff come in there, took the microphone, and we set an example on all of them, you know.
So just so everybody knows, how old is your son, Aaron?
He's 11 years old.
So he's prepubescent then, still very much a child. I just want to say something before we go on. I always have to highlight this. When a child begins in puberty, guys, it's very much the start of their journey. Just because they've hit puberty, it doesn't mean that's the green light to go ahead. There's a lot of development to go on there. And more specifically within the brain doesn't develop to 25. So guys, please don't think just because when a child reaches puberty, that is the green light. That is not the green light to go ahead. That's the time we step in and they need protecting more, because there's all this stuff going on, chemicals going off inside their bodies, which need looking out for. So I'm glad you highlighted that. 11 years old. I removed my son at the age of 12 for this. So just move on to Geoff. Now, Geoff, would you like to introduce yourself quickly and tell us about your part in the meeting, even though they didn't allow you to speak?
Yes, I'm Geoff, and like Aaron said, for the past year, we've been going to these West Suffolk County Council meetings in Bury St Edmunds, putting various different topics on, but obviously the child sexualisation has been a mainstay of ours, and we mentioned that before. And to be fair, we didn't even realise that we weren't supposed to really mention it again. So we decided that this time, because we're just getting lip service, really. We're going there, telling them about different things, all sorts of topics of what's going on in the world, and they just seem to be giving us lip service. There's no real answers. The answers they do come up with, if there is any, is from the government guidelines, and so we decided to say, well, we'll go in there, we'll say our bit, stand a little bit firmer, see if we can get some answers. And as Aaron was doing his speeches, I was filming him, and as he was the guy, the chairman, Roger Dicker, he said to Aaron, "You've gone over your time," which obviously, as Aaron mentioned in there, oh, had I, because you forget your flow, don't you? You time wise, it just goes so quick, and 5 minutes is not enough really to get out what you want to say, really. So, and he tried to stop Aaron from carrying on, which Aaron in turn mentioned me that I should have been allowed to speak, even though I wasn't. And as I got up then and started filming him right close to, as Aaron was still talking to Roger, and then I decided to sort of get on the mic and explain, that he wouldn't let me speak, this is an important issue, blah, blah, blah. And which of that turn, he cut the mic. It's not the first time I've had a mic cut on me, but he cut the mic, and I thought, right, I'm not going to have that. So I'll stand in the middle of the 62 councillors, along with Aaron following shortly after, and explain exactly what's going on, what we wanted to speak about, and to try and get our voice heard. And with that moment, they decided to up and leave, apart from the smug Roger Dicker, the chairman, who just stood there, you know what I mean? I think it just seemed to me he was trying to goad us by standing there being all smug. But yeah, they just got up and left as we still carried on trying to explain what was going on. And our film man, Chris Brooks from LSB Film Productions, he filmed the lot of it, as you saw, and we just carried on speaking to people and then talking to the camera to address what was going on. But my take on it, if you've got an issue when you go to these camps, we know what they're like at the end of the day. We're not stupid, but you go to, it's like going to anyone. You go to someone with a problem and you hope they got a solution for us to help us. They never had one. They never said, right, we'll come back to you, Geoff, and we'll let you know what we're going to do. There was nothing, which is why we brought it up again, and we still didn't get an answer. So we had to sort of step up and be heard, and I think we certainly did that, and probably give them a little bit of a shock to the outcome of the way things were. But we weren't in any way aggressive or anything like that. Just passionate about what we were trying to get across about the child sexualisation and the children, and that so people can be aware so much of what's going on, because there's so much in that. But yeah, and that's where we were, and it's obviously went a bit viral. So, which is good.
I noticed you, Geoff, you were speaking about Alfred Kinsey and John Money. When did you discover that stuff?
Well, I think there was a clip put out, and it might have been from Kat Watkins, of whom you know, don't you? She may have put a clip, I'm not sure, but there was a clip put out of two people talking about it, which I wrote down more or less word for word what was said. So I started to speak about that, and then obviously I looked into Kat's stuff, which had a load more, information, because obviously she's done so much, as yourself have done so much for this. It's unbelievable. And I got hold of or printed off the Alfred Kinsey Sex and Fraud and started reading it, and it was one of the things that we at this private meeting that we had, the 5 or 6 of us, to Aaron and with Cliff Wartman and the chief executive, I gave the because they were speaking about other things as well, but I spoke about that, and that's where he addressed, at 4 years and up, it's great to teach your child about sex and stuff, which was just shocking to hear, but it's all on tape or recording. But so I gave him the book to read. So when we came to speak to him next time, he'd have a better idea how it got into the mainstream, if you like, in the schools and what have you, and to take it from there. But Aaron had emailed him several times, and the chief exec, I believe, to see if he'd read the book, because I had it printed off, and there was no answer. So already they were just ignoring what we were trying to achieve.
And I think this is a big point, Jay. I said this to you guys before we went live. People will say things like, because this is being passed off as an inclusive education, and people will say things like, why are you against the teaching of LGBTQ+? We're not. I'm not. I'm certainly not.
No.
I'm not against the teaching of truth, but they're not teaching the truth. Because if you look at, the origins of all of this, it all boils down to one thing, and that's the sexual abuse and mutilation of children. This is well documented within their own work, This is where we've got the theory sexual from birth, and that was the sexual abuse and rape of boys as young as 2 months old. That's chapter 5. And we've got the likes of Dr. Ellie Barnes over here, who runs Educate and Celebrate, who's written manuals for teachers in school, who references this book and then goes on to lie throughout her book, telling teachers that gender identity is a protected characteristic when we know differently. Gender reassignment is. This is a woman of, held on high esteem. She's a doctor. She's got an MBE. And this stuff is being seen as gospel, And then you look at the gender ideology again. That was based on the sexual abuse and mutilation of twin boys and published as an absolute success. I know we've got a nation of people who think it's cool and hip to be queer. But when you look at the queer theorists again believe it's okay to engage in sexual activities with children. They do not believe there's a thing as childhood innocence. They believe that's a myth. They do not believe there's a binary between adult and child. And that is being played out in our Welsh government documentation. So that for us here, our queer theorist is Professor Emma Reynolds. And in her work, she brags that she's reached 3,000 children in this country, but she only targets the special needs units and special needs schools. Her work has been, she's been exposed for who she is. There's a report on the Safe Schools Alliance website on this queer theory, and Professor Emma Reynolds has now gone underground. But her work, how does this look in a classroom? Well, a child has to draw a silhouette of a body and then discuss where in the body it might feel to be touched. And in her words, nothing is out of bounds. And when you're saying this stuff, you know yourself now, because I watched the videos. I know you know about stats on convictions and stuff like that on child sex abuse. But when you really look at this stuff and you're talking about this stuff, we know the public don't like to hear this kind of stuff anyway. Who wants to think and talk about stuff like that? So when you're discussing this stuff within the educational environment, people don't want to hear it. They're just not into it. But for me, because people assume schools are places of safeguarding, but I'm a criminologist and I specialize in child sex abuse in the institution. So for me, you've got to put, to convince me teachers aren't getting gratification out of this. I want to see their brain. I want to read their brain as they deliver in these lessons. And I'm not going to be satisfied until I can do that. You speak to a teacher and you ask a teacher, they are trained, they're safeguard trained, and you ask them, so what's your training on institutional abuse? They don't know what institutional abuse is. Yeah. So, so schools are supposed to be places of safeguarding, yet, I did a report 2 years ago, and I think it was A third of fitness to practice partners in the Education Workforce Council were sexually motivated. And when you read what happened with these people, now they got the teachers' names, they got the schools, everything is on these outcomes, right? You can only see them for 6 months. And when you look at what's going on within their behaviours, this is grooming. It's in line with the Sexual Offences Act 2003, but it's not even getting to the police station. It's being dealt with by the Education Workforce Council, who are cherry-picked by the government. So it's very much the institution going on here. And we haven't trained teachers to recognise the dangers within their own staff rooms. Now, they are telling us that they are sexually safeguarding our children, but they don't know anything about a predator. So how can they safeguard our children? It's impossible.
They can't.
And like I said, for me, I am never, ever going to accept that this is safe and these places are
exactly.
safeguarding. They are cesspits.
Do you know what?
We know this,
Do you know what, Kimberly? What was worse for me at that specific moment when my son come home and told me about being taught this disturbing material? When I got in contact with a teacher in hand who had actually spoke to him in the lesson and the other children, I couldn't get hold of her, but she was on a school trip. So now she rang me in between a school trip to speak to me in private. And this specific teacher said, I feel so awful that I've taught your son and the rest of the class this material. In all of my 20 years of teaching, I've never come across such vulgar, disgusting and disturbing material. She said, I didn't want to teach this, but I was pushed by the school to incorporate it into the PHSC sexual curriculum. Now, the documentary they were showing was a BBC documentary of a cartoon form of a male and a female humping each other, and as a young child watching it and going, this is great, this feels awesome, it's wonderful. Now, she sent me that material so I could watch it over myself, and she was going to allow me and Geoff also to have a private meeting with her. After hearing her saying that she wished she hadn't taught this lesson, that she was sickened by it and she was forced to do it, she then come back on her word and said she can't remember speaking to me. She never said such a thing. I think obviously the school got hold of her and threatened her in some way. Then the head teacher or the headmaster then got in contact with me and said he would have a meeting with me. Then he cancelled that meeting, and it took another teacher of my son's to explain to me that he wanted to see me because he knew I'd take this much further. I said, if it doesn't get sorted, I'll have 150 parents outside your school grounds, and I will be classing you, just like you say, Kimberly, groomers. That's exactly what it comes across as. Now, I said to this teacher, if it was your two sons, because she had two children, if it was your two sons in my care, and you allowed me to speak like you have done with my son, would you be happy about it? She says, no, I absolutely wouldn't. I said, so what in your right mind did you think it was acceptable to speak like this in front of children? Not just showing them a documentary, but a book with sexual positions in. It's absolutely disgusting. Now, the teacher has said that he's willing to hand over any documents or anything that the school's being given in the new term, which is the documentation, Kimberly, that you're showing many people on your wall, with the WHO's funding and push for sexualisation. And we will go and take this further. And it's watching people like you, Kimberly, in your group that inspire us to get up and do something. And there aren't enough men, unfortunately, there is not enough men getting up and speaking on behalf of their children. It's predominantly the women that are the strongest force. There's not enough men there. And I don't want to say this nicely, but most men are emasculated. They're too interested in sports entertainment and guzzling beer instead of asking questions to their children when they're coming home from school. And we need to be wise to that. You've taught people, Kimberly, to ask questions to your children when they're coming home from school, what they're being taught, so we can get a feeling of what's going on in the education system.
Yeah, I totally agree with Aaron there.
Well, this is it.
We
know what's going on in the education system, and but what people are blinded by these borders. So for us in Wales, if we show what happens in a school in England, people are quick to, that's not our problem. And this is something that we see throughout the whole of the UK. But this is everybody's problem, because we all adopted the same system in March 2017 with the view for legislative changes. So you guys had lesson content, but we didn't. We had the legislation. So we're all in the same storm here, just different boats. And they use case law from European cases to argue the parental rights don't exist. Therefore, they will be using our case law to apply to the rest of the UK. You know, so this is something people really, they should see this as a matter of urgency. The fact that our children have sexual and reproductive rights from the moment they breathe their first breath should be enough for us all to lose our heads, you know?
Absolutely.
And that's the most
Definitely.
important thing of all. Now, I came across this in 2013. There was an article online. They started teaching 4-year-olds masturbation in Spain. So someone said it's Jewish propaganda. I went looking. That's where I discovered everything else. So my journey started. So when I seen an article online saying that the Welsh government were bringing in sex education from age 3 with no parental opt-out, my heart just sunk and I knew what I was looking for. Now, let's just say I didn't discover this stuff in 2013. I would have looked at that article, and with the background I've got, you know, I've been in a Young Offenders Institute, and that's where I discovered institutional child sex abuse. Now, I would have looked at this document, and I would have thought, not the document, sorry, I would have looked at the article and thought, oh, age 3, no opt-out. Then I would have thought, oh, but it's needed, because they would have been saying it's safeguards, you know. So I can understand from a parent's perspective, especially people who have been involved with child sex abuse and things like that. Oh, you don't want that to happen. You want to prevent it. So yeah, you're going to go along with it, you know, because as far as I was concerned, when I first discovered this is the World Health Organization. How are they saying this stuff, you know? And when you look at the references in the back, you know exactly where it's come from. But I think we do have a long way to go, to be honest with you. When I first discovered this, I just thought, right, wait until my friends find out about this. You wait until my friends find out about this. And I thought this was going to be dealt with in a week or a fortnight. 3 years later, we are still here. Our children have sexual and reproductive rights, and my country is more concerned about the fact that they have to go 20 miles an hour instead of 30 miles an hour. You know, and this is it. I've lost friends as well. In South Wales, we've got there's a lot of fighters in South Wales, motocross riders and boxers. That's you know, there's a lot in South Wales. But I've had to go at these people publicly and one by one, you know, they'd rather get me off their Facebook than face the reality of what's happening. But I don't get offended by that, because if I did, that would be my ego at play. I get saddened by it. I get really saddened by it, because their children are going to be asking questions. Their children's children are not going to have a leg to stand on. We are about to witness the death of innocence, and the people who love their children the moon and back cannot go to Google and back to read a document.
Yeah, I totally agree there. Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, the innocence is going to be lost. And, you know, like when we were kids and the laughter, the playing and all that, that will be lost completely. You won't have any of that. And I think what's worrying as well, the fact that the teachers teaching things like this in the schools is, you know, if I was to pop round someone's house and taught exactly to someone's child just randomly, I'd be known as a paedophile, a sex offender, things like that. When everyone deals with children gets like a CRB check, or should be, you know, but if they're teaching that, really they need to be on the sex offenders register. It's absolutely disgusting. You know what I mean?
Well, this is it. So with our CRB, it's now called DBS. With that check, it only records convictions, and as you know, less than 2% of convictions. So it only records convictions, or if there's been a safeguarding thing before. But you can also change your name, see it?
Right,
so it was the alias. So that's something that and if you think about it, it was a campaign with the Sun years ago. I think it was through the Sarah Payne issue.
Yeah.
Now, they wouldn't have allowed that campaign to go through if it properly vetted people, you know?
Yeah.
A PNC check would be the best thing, because every single time the police have been contacted, that comes up, you know? But what people don't, I think we need to educate the country, and this is what we are doing.
Yeah.
So we are teaching people how to safeguard their children from the age of 3. Private's a private. And if they dare ask a child what's inside their pants, which they are doing now, we're teaching the children to raise the alarm. Private's a private. It's as simple as that. We've got to teach children that adults get groomed before the children. So if a man comes in wearing makeup and a dress, that's a groomer.
It is.
Even if that individual isn't a groomer, they are taking part in an industry which is actively grooming our children. Therefore, we have to safeguard from the entire lot. You know, no grey areas here now. They've overstepped the mark too much. So we have to lay the foundation on this, and we have to say enough is enough. You know,
Definitely.
and like you keep saying as well, if we acted in this way towards children, we would be in prison. So and we know not to. So why are these teachers gladly going along with it? The answer is simple. They're either enjoying it, which I'm happy to say this because I can bring studies upon study upon study upon study, okay?
Yeah.
The most recent report by the Independent Inquiry into Child Sex Abuse claims sex abuse in schools is an open secret, with over 40% of children who are being abused, they are aware of it happening to other children. That's a 7-year study published, I think, in September 2020, you know? So this is, if teachers were trained on models of offending, explanations of abuse, perpetrators of abuse, they wouldn't teach this stuff because they would know. And that is a problem here. We do have a system of predators within our school, but we also have a system of teachers who are trying their best, you know? And when these orders come from above, they are going to deliver it because they feel it comes from a good place. But what we are teaching people is challenge it. If they are saying the correct terminology, safeguards, you want to study for it.
Absolutely.
You want to study and the sources for it, you know? The NSPC can't produce that stuff. 3 years on, I'm still after this stuff and they cannot produce it. But I can produce a mass of evidence telling me that when children can engage confidently in discussions about their genitalia, that's viewed as consent by certain people within society. So why are we equipping our children to become fair game? Because I have to view it this way. You have to view it through the predator, you know? So this is what we're about now. We are training and educating people. We're very fortunate that we do have a GP surgery in South Wales who are allowing us in to train their staff. And we do hope that will roll out that into the health visitors so we can get the new mothers, you know, and safeguard our children that way. We have to educate them properly.
Absolutely.
People think it's okay because children put their hands in their trousers. Sometimes people think that's okay. Well, actually, you should be distracting them from it. You need to investigate it first because it could be a medical issue or it could be harm taking place. And then you distract them from doing it because masturbation, early childhood masturbation is addictive. It releases a chemical. You know, there's lots of problems from this. So why are we encouraging children to stimulate their genitalia at a young age?
Absolutely.
That's only going to benefit one type of people, and that's not the children.
It's awareness as well, Kimberly, for me. I think more parents need to be more, you know, interested in their child's education and then ask these questions because it starts with the parents to be more, you know, more involved with the child's education. No one knows what's going on unless they're asking their child these questions. And you're teaching people to do that, to make sure that they're aware of these lessons being held in the classroom and that they need to be more aware of it. They need to ask their children, sit them down and ask them in a comfortable place.
Well, this is another thing. So children are now being taught secrecy. So what happens in school stays in school. So we've had a 6-year-old girl and her granddad is all over this. Now, the school has told this child not to tell granddad what's happened in class. So when granddad asks this child what's happened in class, she goes, When somebody else asks her what's happened in class, she can talk about it. Can you see what I mean? Children take it literally. You know, they've just done a report and 85% of children believe every word their teacher says.
Wow. That is amazing.
There's a lady, you know, I might get this wrong. I think it's Monica Klein. Is it Monica Klein? So she's from Family Watch International. She used to work for Planned Parenthood. And she was in a class one day. And I think it was a 14-year-old who put their hand up. And she asked how to give oral sex properly because she couldn't do it without gagging. And she was saying, well, you don't have to do it. Well, of course I do, she said. Of course I do. Everyone's doing it. And it was that moment that she realized she was grooming the children. It was that moment that she realized she wasn't protecting them. She wasn't teaching them consequence of. Her involvement in these activities was giving them the indication of a green light.
Jeez.
You know, so That's another place to look into as well, guys. Family Watch International. They are
Absolutely.
fantastic. They're all over this, you know. But
Yeah.
America, again, 10, 15 years ahead of us on this. And look at the state on people out there now.
Because the music industry, you'll vouch for this, Geoff and Kim,
Yeah.
the music industry and the movie scene, the movies they're thrown in front of the children, they're sexualizing you in these industries, and it's allowing children to think that's normal. It's normal behaviour. So when they go to school, as you say, Kimberly, and they're being told this is okay, we can talk about this. A lot of children won't go home and speak to their parents, but we need to strengthen the minds of our children to be more aware of situations that they're put in, that they can then safeguard themselves, as well as inform the parents of such a push like this. And it does come from the music, and it definitely comes from the movies they're watching.
Yeah. Well, you've only got to look
100%.
at Sam Smith, haven't you?
Oh.
Sam Smith. I mean, he's just one vile person, you know what I mean? But he'll get people looking up to him, thinking he's great, and probably trying to copy what he's trying to do. But it's absolutely shocking what they're doing. They're pushing through the music industry, the movies, which they've been doing for a long time, and people will look up. They'll have their idols and think that's great. That's the next phase to do. I'll be like them, dressing up as a woman, and probably not even realizing why they're doing it, but they think that's the fad, that's the latest thing. And I think, as you said about the mums and dads, they need to get a hold of this and really check on either what they're watching on the social medias, talk to them more, and get into the mind to tell them that these things aren't right, these things shouldn't be happening, you shouldn't be learning this, I shouldn't be having this conversation with you like this, and so they really need to be more aware and more vigilant and do their due diligence on the stuff and look into it, like you say, Kimberly, you know what I mean? Look into it more and see what's going on. I mean, the teachers amaze me. I mean, I dare say, like you said, there are some good teachers, but the ones that I just think they should need to get together, all of them. There must surely, that in some of them, they must be thinking, I shouldn't be teaching this, but I am. You know what I mean? I know maybe it's just a bit of brainwashing there as well, but it is absolutely disgusting what they're teaching at the age 3 and 4 and above, and it's just so wrong on every level, which is why we're all doing this, pushing this message out so people can see what's going on, hear what's going on, and look for themselves, and look into their children's work and schoolwork, and just get out there and make some noise to get this message across, because it's absolutely awful what is going on all walks of life for children.
Well, we are the children's first line of defense, and if we can't get this right, then and this is what it's about, this is why we've got to teach our children to safeguard themselves. I am not a fan of a 3-year-old safeguarding themselves. That's absolutely ridiculous,
Yeah,
However,
that's right.
we have to do this now. We have to do it, and because at least if we've got at least one child in each class, that is something, at least if one child knows what's going on. Nobody's supposed to be looking or talking about your genitalia. Then you've got a teacher going into school, and and we're being told that they need to know this stuff so they can disclose abuse. Well, how's about we prevent abuse? Because even the disclosure process, people don't understand. So when a child goes to give that interview anyway, the people who are interviewing them are trained to spot the grooming process. Well, the younger the child is, they can't recall that in their statement. They can only recall the incident. So again, then it's questionable. Did this actually take place? So even the people are trained to take this information, they're not trained properly. Social services are not trained on it. I posted a report the other day to prove that. People aren't adequately trained. And it's our business to train ourselves. Now, we are never, ever going to wipe out the sexual abuse of children. That's the thing we couldn't. However, we can create an environment where predators are reluctant to offend. And the only way we can do that is by talking about it like it's the weather. Nobody wants to teach their children that there's predators out there. But those are the people are the reason why we have to do it. And that's the only sex education children need is sexual safeguarding and empowerment on saying no. That is it.
The thing is, Kimberly,
the
thing is that I watched that. Yeah, it is. And that video I saw, sorry to interrupt you. I was just looking back at a video I watched about a month ago. And this guy was saying it's all down to the parents that predators will prey on a child. If the parent shows that they're more inclined to be more protective over their child. The groomers won't attack the children. Now, parents are not aware. They're not willing to take more time and investment in their child's education, especially their lives. Some parents are so infused with paying taxes, working long hours, and forgetting about their children and the effects that the last 3 years especially had on them. And I think for groomers, they'll attack children that they find weakened by the parents that are weakened also. And if you show that you're a strong-minded mother and father, there's less chance of that happening to your child, because the child will be more inclined to stand up for themselves, bring about it these views to the parents so they understand it as well. There's not enough people showing their strength parents-wise. I mean, it's only because of you, Kimberly, that I've watched over the last few years, as well as Kate Watkins and a few others. And I will mention Frances Shea, who we're doing the outreach on the 28th with. She's been out in the streets also like you with the likes of Nick Hopkins, Denise Gale and a few others. And they've been shouting about the child sex trafficking trade, the satanic rituals. But they're also about the sexualisation in the schooling system. There's people like you, Kimberly, that are making other men aware of it to get up and stand up. And we need more men to be doing that as well. They need to be more protective over the child and more resilient to understand that there is an assault and an attack on our younger ones.
Yeah,
exactly.
I agree.
The thing is, the future is not ours.
It's not.
The future is the world that we leave behind. You know, and we've had our childhood. Even if you've had a difficult childhood, it's gone. It's gone. Now, you know, let's create a world where other children can have a childhood, you know, because there is not going to be, when we do have a few people and they will say, you know, look, I was abused as a child, and if I had had this education, I would have known to report it. So I have to point them to documents and I have to show them the only safeguarding throughout these documents is sexual violence. Now, sex abuse perpetrated to a child is rarely violent. You would have found that in the care homes years ago, you know, the violence aspect. So I have to show them, well, actually, this document is saying what you went through was pleasure.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's what's led to your confusion, was the biological reaction that you have through the stimulation of the genitalia. You know, I don't think people understand enough about their own situation. This is like years ago, you could go to any GP, any hospital, and there's signs: domestic abuse, domestic abuse, domestic abuse. All these. Why don't we do a campaign for sexual abuse?
Sexual abuse, we
all know why we cannot do a campaign for sexual abuse. We all know why we can't do that, you know, because the people out there are engaging in it themselves. It's sport for a lot of people.
Yeah,
you know?
I just want to say. Go on. Sorry, Kimberly. No, I was going to say a couple of things. I got two jobs, but the second job I work in a leisure centre. I'm not going to say where it is, but they've got a swimming area, you know, and the flume slide, and they have children's lessons and everything, and they've got like what they call like a beach area, you know, you sit down and, you know, and that. And what worries me, and I've told the management several times, and the parents, you know, the mums and dads get their children changed in front of everybody. They put a little bit of a towel around or whatever, but on that beach area, instead of going to the changing rooms, and it's visual, you can come in and you can see, and it's like, and you know, and I've said no end of time to the management about either putting signs up or telling them, you know, what's what, because it's just an ongoing thing. It's just pure laziness. They don't want to go at the changing room, but they rather expose their child. You know what I mean? Yes, they cover up a bit, but you can't cover up totally everything. You know what I mean? And I just think it's places like that as well. Probably goes on all around in different leisure centres and that, you know, and especially as what's going on with the grooming of the children in schools and everything, the whole thing, it really is important that people need to be more vigilant and more careful of what they're doing. I mean, when my boys were growing up, they'll probably say I was probably a little bit too much, because I would never let my kids go in the toilet on their own. I was probably, I don't know, might have been 8, 9, 10, I don't know. I was still a bit wary. I'll be there. Wait, you know what I mean? I just maybe a bit overprotected. But having said that, now with things, you can realise why maybe I wasn't. It was just, you know, because I remember years ago. Well, I say years ago, probably, I don't know, it might have been 5 or 10 years ago. There was a bit in the paper that said about a couple were sitting there with a child in McDonald's, and the child, I think the girl or boy was probably only about maybe 4 or 5. I think they were sitting literally right next to the where the toilet door was. So they let the child go in on their own, and in there the child got abused. When they took the child home, she or he, I can't remember who it was totally frozen, just didn't really what to say. They eventually managed to get out of it, or somehow, or someone did, and realised the child had been abused. But obviously, whoever done it had gone and done and dusted, and that was just sitting outside the door, and they let her go in on. Why people do that? I can't get that. I cannot get that.
Well,
why?
I've had the same issue. So I'm a single parent of 2 boys, and the oldest is ADHD, ASD. So you can imagine, as he got independent, the rows we would have in services. London, we used to go to London every New Year, so we'd be arguing outside toilets. It's absolutely no way. And I remember once we had a big row, and I'd come back from London, and on the TV I was watching Crime Watch, and exactly the same toilet in Hyde Park, a little 6-year-old boy had been abused in. He was so traumatized, he kept drawing monsters over himself. And I was thinking, my son was only 9, and I was thinking, shall I? So I recorded this, and then the next day I showed him. And I said, don't ever argue with me again in London. Don't you ever argue with me again in London,
exactly.
And now that they're older, like, 18 and 15 now, but then as they got to teenagers, I would shout outside the toilet, don't leave there without your brother, right? So every man that was going in that toilet knew that those kids were with me,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
This is it's bad enough we have to teach them to protect themselves.
Yeah.
It's bad enough we need to be vigilant. But people don't understand enough about it, Most predators are charismatic. Most predators are good with children. They have to be. You think your child is safe because they're not out in the streets. It takes 20 minutes to groom your child online. 20 minutes, The cool parent is not the parent that buys the latest devices. And I will hold my hands up there and say, I am not that cool parent. Cool parent is the parent that actually keeps them out of the education system and doesn't put them anywhere near technology. That's
exactly.
cool parent nowadays, But we're a nation of people who are competing on a material front, go back to Sam Smith. People think it's cool to take their child to a concert. They're not even thinking about what's the other side of that gate.
No,
they
exactly.
just go on social media going to that concert.
Do you know what really worries me, Kimberly? What worries me, like what you were saying there, children are trying to compete against one another for the highest tech, and they're on these chat sites, they're on these compute games, and adults are claiming to be children, and they are grooming our children on these online platforms. And the one that really worries me, having a young daughter, she's only 8 years old. I know it's changing the subject a little bit, but this all-inclusive way of allowing boys and men to be able to use the same restrooms as a woman or a girl. I mean, it's totally sickening and disturbing to believe that some states in the United States are allowing this to happen. Now, men more than anything should be putting a stop to this. This is paedophilia. I don't care what you say. If you're going to walk in a restroom, a female's restroom in a gym or a swimming pool or anywhere else with a dress on, but you're a male, no matter what, you're a paedophile. You should be not in that room with them children. And it does worry me having a young daughter and growing up in this world. I don't want that for her. I don't want people believing that a man can be in a female's restroom. It's disgusting. It's disturbing.
Well, men and women are different for a reason. This is not a myth. We are we're the same species, but we are completely different. The truth is this: we do rely on men to protect the women and children. That's I'm just lost for words on that front, because here in Wales it seems to be a little group of all 5-foot women. Do you know what I mean? We've got Adele who's a bit taller than us, and Joan who's a bit taller than us, but we literally are dirty women, and we're out there and we're desperate, we're desperate for help and support, and it's just not coming. But they want to post, and they've just bought their boy a new motocross, or they're taking their boy down the gym or whatever. It's not good enough. But
then you're giving up your time, Kimberly.
Doesn't make you a fighter. Not in 2023. It doesn't.
look what you're doing, Kimberly. You're giving your time up to get out in the streets, do the yellow boards, and alert the people when they're passing by what's going on. And it takes a little bit of your time and effort to get out there and do something. Me and Geoff have been doing it with outreaches in Bury now and Thetford and other areas, Ipswich, for the last 3 years. And Geoff got a great book not long ago about Let's Talk About Sex, which was some of the vulgar material in there that was being processed in these. You got it. In the Waterstone stores, and we did it outside their store. We were screaming at them. We were trying to alert the people passing by that this bookstore was selling these books to young children about transgenderism, how that's normal and it's acceptable, about how gender reassignment's okay. You can change your bits from a girl to a boy and a boy to a girl. This is disgusting. It takes a little bit of time and effort to get out and alert your community of what's going on. You're doing it amazingly over there in Wales with your group, and we're trying to do the same in our group in this town, just to get that message across.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it says in this book as well, which it says that children are sexual from birth in it as well. I mean, wow. I mean, yeah, that's right. I mean, and it's just shocking that people sell them in these places like Waterstones and other bookshops, and thinking the people that must be putting them out on the shelf, man, they're probably oblivious. I don't know, but I know Zach, a friend of ours, he's been doing a lot with challenging Waterstones and other bookshops, which have been doing great. But yeah, it's just unbelievable. Every which way they are channeling for the children, and really people like Aaron said, yourself and Kat and all your other group, and have been getting out there, and people need to just hang on a minute, even if they just see what we're all doing. Yeah, I better start looking into that one, I better start doing something. You know what I mean? It's a duty of care as a mum and a dad that they need to look after their children, because if they do not care about them that much, they shouldn't have had the children. And that's the trouble with people, because even the mums and dads are probably too busy on their phone or on their playing game or doing whatever, and not concentrating on what the children can see on their social media platforms. I mean,
it's a moral obligation, Geoff, isn't it? It's a moral obligation as a parent to be involved in your child's upbringing and their childhood, because things like Kimberly is saying, it's happening. Groomers and paedophilia is out there, and it is.
Yeah, and the schools massively are grooming them for the paedophiles. You know what I mean? Because they can teach them consent, and so it's there for them. And the paedophiles that must be loving all this, thinking great. Because then if they end up chatting to some young girl or boy, and they're a little bit more open because they know all about sex and what have you, then they're more likely to go away with them hand in hand down the road. You know what I mean? So it's so worrying that parents, dad, whatever,
outside London, Geoff, didn't we?
Yeah, that's right.
We had our boards up, and we made some boards about the child sexualisation. We made some banners up, and we had them right outside Parliament Square, weren't it?
Yeah.
And one guy walked past, and he was a gay guy. So look, I've been a gay guy for 20 years. The Pride Month was about standing up for our rights and being included into society. He said, but now I will admit, as a gay man, this turned nasty with the transgenderism movement, with the exposing the genitalia of men and women on a month where they think it's acceptable to be naked in front of young children. He said, it's disgusting. I absolutely 100% am behind what you're trying to push. And the gays and lesbians against child sexualisation, they're doing the same thing. They're shouting from the rooftops. This is not what we are about. We don't accept this, and it should never be included into society.
Yeah, and you were saying, if you remember the time when I was on the megaphone, you said there was a guy walked behind me, and he had, I don't know, a dress on, and you could see all his bits hanging out. You know what I mean? He was carefree and just, you know what I mean? So it just shows you what they're like and what they're behaving like. It's just totally evil and just paedophilia. Absolutely.
Well, it's just fetishism, isn't it? Coming out on the streets. That's what it is. You know, a lot of these people aren't even trans. It's acrogynophiliac, really.
Yeah.
Acrogynophiliac, sorry. You know, it's sexual kinks and fetishism. There's no two ways about that. And you're going to have a hard answer me otherwise. But when you look back at the LGBT, how that started, that was Harry Hay. Harry Hay tried to bring LGBT into NAMBLA, which is North American Man-Boy Love Association. So this has never been about gay people. It's always been about paedophilia, and they've just used and manipulated people, victimize and demonize, you know, and they've played it lovely, you know, they played it blinded on this. So, guys, just to end then, we're on 49 minutes now. Your event on the 28th of October. Tell us about that and let's get some people there.
Yeah, to be honest, the likes of me, Geoff, and Frances Shea, a wonderful woman as she is, a true fighter. We come up with the idea. Let's put a march on for the people. Let's not have any permission asked by the Met Police. Let's not have anyone leading the role. Let's not have anyone controlling the outreach, as many of them have done over the last 3 years. Let's go together. Let's get everyone in unity, standing for the children, which is most important about all of these agendas that are being pushed. The children are the most important, the next generation. And we come up with the idea, if we all come together, bring our strengths to the group, whether it's you're good with leafleting and outreaching, or you're good to speak on the megaphone, you're a musician, you're an artist, anyone come along on the day and speak on your behalf, on your children's behalf, on your grandchildren's behalf, stand up for their rights. I'm trying to put a video together, just cut short before Geoff comes on, but I'm trying to put a video out for the 28th, 12:30 p.m. out BBC London headquarters. I'm trying to get as many people involved in it as possible, just to show that there is many people of all walks of life that are really concerned about the sexualisation of our children, the child trafficking, the paedophilia now referred to as minor attracted persons, which is disgusting. And we need people now more than ever to get on the streets and start screaming, start shouting, and being the voice for the voiceless, which is our children. So, yeah, that's what it's about.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, I'll just add to that. Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's on Saturday, 28th of October, outside the BBC headquarters, 12:30 p.m. We just want as many people who are able to turn up, and if they want to speak, they can. Although myself, Aaron, and Frances Shea have organised this, we're not being leaders. There's no front runner there. We're all the same, and we just want people to come up, be a voice to be heard, if they're okay about speaking, or if it's something they want us to talk about. But to be there, and if they don't want to speak, they can hand out leaflets, the boards, they can chat to people, and do that kind of thing. But it'll be a great day to show awareness, to get people out there to think, what's going on here? And as we know, the BBC headquarters is ripe in it all. I mean, that statue of Eric Gill's got put up there. It's just says it all. But it's just that message, the clear message that we are worried about the safety of our children for the future, and what is going on with the abuse, the sexualisation, the rape, even murder, everything going on with the children, and they are after our children. And that message needs to be spread out. And the great thing is about it, there's going to be, as well as bits and pieces we film, but there's going to be, I think LSB Film Productions is going to be there as well. I think Laura Need's going to be there filming. There's that other girl you've got filming as well, Aaron, isn't there? And there's some other people who've got platforms that we can spread that message far and wide for people to stand up and at least, try and do something. Or even, like Aaron said, put a little small video together about the day, and the reasons why it's important that people either go to it or listen to what you say. It's just getting that message out there, because the kids are in trouble. What they're doing to them is absolutely shocking, and it shouldn't be allowed. And mums and dads should be on it and really sorting this out.
Kimberly,
Absolutely.
Can I just plug two people before we go? That one guy called Mufri is a musician. He's just released the song "Protect the Children," and he talks about, like you and Geoff has mentioned, the Kinsey Files, John Money, and the track is open to anyone to go and download it. Mufri Unplugged. He's speaking for the next generation, standing up for the youth, and that's a fantastic song. Another one is Nate as well. Nate Music 13. He brought out "Save Our Children." And these guys are putting a video together for the 28th. They're going to get a lot of people follow them. It's going to bring more people out in the streets. Hopefully, a lot more young people will come and stand with us, because it's their future that's at stake, and it's their future that we need to save. Their freedom.
The dog wants the word.
Not my door now, 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Geoff will drum up enough support, mate. I think,
I think with all the platforms and everything, I think what we're doing as well. So it's going to be great to get that message out, and being on here with Kimberly as well. So it's fantastic, really. Yeah,
big inspiration, isn't she? To
massive. That. Yeah.
Rest of the world really standing up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's what's needed, isn't it, to get this message out there? I mean, people need to be more vigilant on their children and what they're watching, who they're talking to, what they've been taught. You know, it just speaks volumes.
Does, and there's some great people in that group, Geoff, like
Yeah.
like Bob, like Mandy, like
Yeah.
Donna,
Yeah.
like Chris, and all of
Chris,
them guys.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys. My neighbour's child
Ah,
had
that's
thrown
so sorry.
it over the wall. So yeah, guys. Well, I think that's about it now. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank
if
you.
anybody from Wales would like to travel up to London on the 28th, we might as well get a few cars on the road. I can't do the full journey my own anymore, guys. I have the car share, and we did say we wasn't doing any more weekend things, but we have to do this now. We are uniting the kingdom. This is people. This is a people movement. And it's people on the ground. It has to be people on the ground, guys.
Yeah.
Nobody at the top has ever changed anything at the top. We've exhausted the democratic process. We've exhausted the judicial process. Now it's time to rise.
Yes, it is. It is the people that need to make that change massively, massively.
Just want to say, Kimberly, you're a warrior. Thank you for all that you've done with your group in Wales, and we appreciate it. We respect you. And thank you for giving us the lift that we need to stand as well and get more men, hopefully, on side with this movement. And hopefully the men in Wales will wake. They will join you, and you'll have the strength that you need beside you also.
Thank you, guys. I am hoping that you guys are going to lead the way for the men now, because they are needed, you know. And I know I do lose my rag sometimes on lives with them, but they might be a lot because they saw me in person. They know that, so they need to act before they bump into me on the streets. That's a fact.
Yeah, I just want to echo. What Aaron. Sorry, I just want to echo what Aaron said about the work that you're doing, and Kat and all your team's been amazing. It really has. I mean, if there's anything else that we can help you with as well, if needs doing, by all means, shout us up, because we'll be happy to help you. And just to get that message out there, and you know, put a spanner in the works for things, you know. But it's the children is the main issue here. We need to help them, protect them, and clearly we've got to get a message out to people, mums and dads, granddads, granddaughters, grandmas, what have you, and people who have children and families, that they need to protect their children more of what's going on in this world.
Save our children. Save our children.
Save our children.
Saving, guys, that's for sure. So I just want to thank everybody that's watched this as well. If you guys can send me the link for those music videos, and we can add them then to this now, you know, so everybody can access it. If there's anything you want us to promote for you, please let us know. And guys, please follow Aaron and Geoff, and obviously follow us as well. We need all the help and support we can get. Thank you for watching. There will be a live tomorrow evening. The work of Nigel Thorns. It's the Nigel Thorns series every Monday at 8:30. There should be a live on Tuesday discussing the template letters with you guys. There has been a website issue there. But apart from that, we're moving forward. We'll be in Ireland on the weekend. We're really looking forward to that. Belfast Saturday and Sunday. Keep sharing. Keep this information going. Keep on top of the fight. Keep talking. Instead of making statements, ask questions, plant seeds of doubt, and those seeds will soon grow. Thank you all for watching, guys. Really appreciate your time.
Respect.
Thank you. Respect.